Marc Casado had no chance of becoming a first-team player at Barcelona. He was too short, too weak, and never stood out among the other Barca talents. Even in his age group, there were more talented players like Simmons, Lopez, or Balde. Today we will tell you why Marc succeeded. We have carefully prepared this material to show you a different side of the Barcelona Academy graduate who has also made his debut for the Spanish national team. This is Sant Antoni de Vilamajor, a modest Catalan town with an area of 13.7 square kilometers and a population of just over 6,500 people. In such small towns, everyone knows each other, and that is from here that one special person comes. Here everyone knows Marc Casado. Marc Casado is a legend here. He's cooler than the mayor. He's the best football player in the world here. Everyone recognizes him, and yes, Marc comes home quite often. Marc has remained the same as he was when he was a kid, his friends say. This is one of the earliest photos of our hero. Back then, no one placed their bets on him, and no one believed in him, except for one person, Marc Casado himself. Marc was a very active child, so much so that his parents would hide his ball and make one out of a newspaper or tape instead, all to keep him from breaking things around the house. The Casado family tree is made up of Barcelona fans who pass on their love for the club from generation to generation. Marc's childhood photos in a blaugrana shirt are proof of that. In this particular photo, he's with his sister, Laura, and is about 4 or 5 years old. However, there was a scenario where we could have known Marc as a Barca player, but in a completely different sport. Few people know this, but Marc Casado could have been a volleyball player. Volleyball was actually the first sport in his life. He also had a basketball, a gift from his parents, and only later came football. Interestingly, our hero was quite upset when his parents told him that the football program only accepted children starting at the age of 6. He was hysterical, his mother said, about that period in his life. Can you imagine how much this boy was charged for success? Marc was also one of those who would fall asleep hugging a ball. If you want to become a professional footballer, you have to love the ball, said one of Casado's first coaches at Vilamajor when the future Barca player was just 6 years old. Marc interpreted this advice in his own way and has been sleeping with the ball ever since. The fact that Casado has a unique brain was known at the school where Marc studied. Escola Joan Casas is the place that first met the genius. He was an extremely intelligent child. It was a bit annoying because he didn't make any effort at all and got amazing grades. You couldn't catch him. He was very intelligent, very strategic, with a very great gap for argumentation. He was very good at math. The former teacher told El Periódico. Ana Roca, Marc's tutor in the 5th and 6th grades, revealed another fact that tells us that Casado is a mega brain. Some time ago, I threw away all my school materials and the only exams I had left were his, because they were perfect. It was brilliant. He always wanted to know more, and sometimes I had to stop him. Marc was a bit of a bastard, a thunderer, a bug. He had a point of mischief. Casado was very lively, the tutor describes young Marc's character. Another teacher, Leo Fernandez, told a great story that speaks of Marc as a competitive beast. Once there was a race, which my son won. Marc came second, and Paul, who was into athletics, came third. Paul was so pissed that Casado beat him that he started shouting that Marc had cheated by shortening the distance somewhere. Casado is also pursuing higher education at the local Vilamajor Institute. Casado's favorite place in his hometown is the El Sui Pizzeria, where he often hangs out with his friends, in particular with Xavi Gardi, who played with Marc at Vilamajor and is studying with him at the Institute. We call him Casado. I never call him Marc. We call him or he calls us, and we meet here at the pizzeria. Everything goes on as usual, says Xavi. And this fact underlines the modest personality of Marc Casado. Barca's starter is the same as he was before. He is not a star. Casado is one of us. He recently went to a local shop and bought himself some regular shoes, not brand name ones, reports El Periódico. Marc has always been very stubborn. He was very consistent in everything he did. He worked hard for many years and now he has results, told Paqui, one of close childhood friends, to Sport.es journalist Ivan San Antonio. During the coronavirus pandemic, Paqui's father died and he locked himself away from everyone in his house. Marc visited his friend on his birthday and just started singing, "Happy birthday to you." My father had just died, but Marc came and did it. He's like that, and I will never forget that detail. At his first club, Vilamajor, Marc immediately stood out from his teammates. He was a leading player then as he is now. He was brave despite his small stature, but he gave his all on the field. Even then, he stood out among the rest. Ivan Manginelli, coordinator of Vilamajor, shares his memories. They finished last or second to last in the Catalan league because they were playing in the top league with Barca and Espanyol. The future footballer's mother recalls the first football season. That team was terrible. They were a disaster. Everyone said about that Vilamajor squad. But this did not apply to Marc Casado, who was promoted 2 seasons later. His first coaches, Paul Barão and Sergio Ruiz, called Marc our Bussy. We saw that on the first day that he had something special. He was scoring, giving assists, and was always in an excellent position with a great vision of the game. He was our Bussy. Marc's next coaches were Albert Espinosa and David Sape. They emphasized an innate ability to play football. Casado even played goalkeeper for them when needed. Then he moved to another Catalan club, Sant Celoni, where he stayed for a season. Next, he played for more prestigious clubs in the region, Granollers, where he spent 3 seasons, and then for Dam, where he was immediately named captain. A year later, Barcelona signed him. In the winter of 2016, Barça, Espanyol and Valencia were all competing to sign the top talent. The choice for Marc and his family was easy. Barcelona, of course. He was 13 years old. We liked the way he moved, his positioning, and his sense of space and time. Jordi Roro, who was in charge of La Masia, explained the reasons for signing Casado. To get Casado, Barcelona played a special friendly with Dam, says Aureli Altimira, La Masia's youth football coordinator. And so it was done. But despite his talent, he wasn't strong or tall. We'd be lying if we said he was on the list of those chosen for the first team, Altimira admitted. However, Marc never gave up and continued to study hard in Barcelona. His progress became noticeable in Cadet B, the U16 team. There he began to show that maturity can be more important than physicality, the club said. Marc was not a spectacular footballer, neither physically nor technically, but he was a tactical leader. He was an extension of the coach on the pitch, said Frank Artiga about his former player. In Barcelona, Marc is called a tactical freak. In the 2021-2022 season, Casado simply did not leave the room where the team analyzed the opponent's game. We watched a lot of tactical games with him. He was already dominating his position, says Oscar Lopez, Juvenile A coach at that season. It is thanks to his tactical skills that Casado is so important to Hansi Flick. He perfectly understands the game that the German coach is building. Marc is also a versatile player who can play as a right back, all of which skills are greatly appreciated by Flick. Last summer, our hero had a lot of offers. Valencia, Granada and Lazio wanted him. However, first Xavi and then Flick assured the player that he had a future in Barcelona, and how right they were. In the end, Marc Casado is the embodiment of the dream held by most Catalan boys, dreaming of playing for Barca and achieving football glory for the club since childhood. Marc's story is the story of the Barcelona dream. Born into a family of Barca supporters, he became a first-team player, leaving his parents in awe that their son is playing for the club of his life. At first, I couldn't get used to Marc and Barcelona. I perceived them separately. But when my son gave that assist to Rafinha in the match against Bayern, I fully realized that my son was playing for Barca, for the club of our lives, said the footballer's mother, Ana Torres, who works in a pharmaceutical laboratory. By the way, his mother has one tradition. Whenever she buys all the newspapers that write about her son, she cuts out all the memories of Marc and files them in a separate folder. It's very nice. Nowadays, Marc Casado is a pillar of Barcelona's midfield, a player of the Spanish national team. Barca no longer thinks about Kimmich's transfer because they have their own Kimmich, the Catalan one. CULES, what do you think of the other side of Marc Casado's success? Like the video and subscribe to our channel. Next up is even more interesting. In particular, we will talk about Barcelona's Ronaldinho, who will soon be in the first team. So stay tuned to our channel. Watch the video about the historic contract between Barca and Nike. And bye! Visca el Barça!